we will begin with this another very topical issue of the day, which is the facility management at Frontline. How facility management is bringing business, is helping in business continuity. So here we have our speakers and our moderator, Ms. Charu, will be joining soon. So let me take this opportunity while we have all our speakers here. Let me take this opportunity of introducing our speakers. And once Ms. Charu Thapar joins us, our moderator, we will introduce her as well. So let me begin in alphabetical order with our speakers' introduction. First of all, we have with us Mr. Amit Grover, Executive Director, Office Business, DLF Limited. Again, we all know DLF is very strong in office business across many cities of India. And Amit Grover is a seasoned commercial real estate professional with more than 24 years of experience. So we are looking forward to some very valuable viewpoints from Mr. Grover. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Angad Rajain, who is the Global Chief Strategy Officer and IFM Head for Tenon Group, the FM company. So very important to have the FM company's point of view because they are at the front line of helping the businesses to come back on their feet. So Angad Rajain has an impressive corporate experience of more than a decade with a leadership and strong strategy orientation. And he has been leading the overall strategic planning for Tenon Group, including their other segments. We also now have with us our eminent speaker, Mr. Rajesh Pandit, who's the Managing Director, Global Workspace Solutions and Property Management, India, Middle East and North Africa for CBRE South Asia. Mr. Pandit, a very warm welcome to you. He has more than 28 years of experience and has been driving business management systems on key projects, including IT parks, call centers, BPO facilities, residential offices, campuses, and providing development consultancy, property management, and facility management services to the client. So a very varied experience Mr. Pandit brings to the table to this discussion. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Let me introduce our next speaker, Mr. Satish Rajendran, Chief Operating Officer, Head Facilities and Asset Management Services India, Knight Frank India Private Limited. Mr. Satish Rajendran is a very senior business leader and INSEAD alumnus with more than 18 years of experience in corporate real estate. And he is currently heading the consulting, facilities and asset management business for India for Knight Frank and working closely with global and APAC teams. So let's hear some global experiences also in this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Rajendran, for being here with us.
Thank you, Sapna.
Our next eminent speaker is Mr. Pradeep Lala. He has taken embassy services to become one of the largest business units within the embassy group. We all know embassy services is also in the facilities management, and Mr. Pradeep Lala is the man behind the success and the achievements of this vertical of embassy group. So Mr. Lala, very warm welcome to you on this session.
Hi, everybody.
Have with us Mr. Yogeshwar Sharma, Executive Director and CEO, Select Infrastructure Private Limited. I'm sure everyone knows Mr. Yogesh Sharma because he is a shopping center professional, an exemplary shopping center professional, and we all know Select City Walk, and he's the man behind the success of Select City Walk. So, Mr. Sharma, a veteran of the retail industry, thank you for joining here and giving us the perspective of the retail industry, how it is working with the FM industry to bring this segment back to its feet.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you very much, and so glad to be part of this panel. Yeah.
Yes, same here. So Ms. Charu is joining us in just a few minutes. Let me give her introduction as well in the meantime. Ms. Charu Thapar is Executive Director of Property Management and Asset Management for Asia Pacific. She's Head of Strategy, Platform and Emerging Markets India, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Philippines for JLL India. And again, a huge perspective that she will be bringing to this session while she will be moderating this discussion. So thank you all for being here with us. Amit, would you like to share your views? When we are talking about commercial real estate, and DLF is, building one of the In fact, you have done a very big transaction for commercial real estate development. So your viewpoints on commercial real estate, how it is going to go ahead?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. The panel, and look forward to a great session. And thanks for hosting it. Sure. So I think in the current scenario, while there is a lot of debate around how the work from home will integrate with work from office, there's debates around hybrid format of work kind of structuring where there'll be a combination of that, which will kind of drive the future. And there are only a lot of discussions around the workplace strategy and the workplace and the work of the future, etc. I think the way we look at it is that office space business is here to stay. We've seen the last global recession. We've seen the trends in the past. I think it's just that the whole focus will come as to what is the core value office is able to deliver. And that, I think, from my perspective, are three important areas: the ability to connect, collaborate, and belong. And all three are important. And I think these are the three key areas which the future of office space has to deliver. And we kept this in mind while working on this large transaction which we were able to conclude, which was about 1 million square feet, and I think possibly the largest transaction in India in the so-called pandemic world or the lockdown world. And simply because the client had a very a focused vision, that they were very clear and much ahead of time that with a pandemic or no pandemic, what will be the future requirements which the building has to deliver. And that was kept at the core while working for design of the building. And you'll be surprised that what we've understood today while sitting at home for a while during the lockdown and somewhat later, that the very reason we will all go back to office is either to meet our teams, where we kind of with best of the Zoom calls and otherwise, you need a personal connect to build that trust. We would need go back to office to meet our colleagues and have that trust and bonding with the colleagues and ability to share views, which you cannot do with best of the technology available. You would go out to meet to offices to meet some of the customers and therefore customer experience centers and others. And also it is important that the while there will be technology options available, still humans like to connect with the physical space. We've seen globally that the best companies of the world like to set up their own campuses, have their logo shining, and visible from a distance. So the ability for us to connect with an organization, it's also important that we connect with the physicality of the building in some sense. So these are the key drivers which our customer was very clear. Thankfully, we had on board one of the international architects, Gensler, who have done a lot of research on future of work and were able to put together post-pandemic office space requirements. We had our own teams, and our own experience of dealing with over 1,000 corporates, and we've been listening to their voices, what to their expectations, and all that put together helped us to design a building, and where customer also showed confidence that this is here to stay, and that's how we've kind of been able to sign up for a build-to-suit building, which is possibly the largest transaction in India.
That's right, Amit. In fact, in one of the panels earlier, we were discussing about, and all the eminent speakers were very bullish on commercial real estate. That as you rightly said, that it's a human need, the social interaction which can happen at office place only. We have Ms. Charu Thapar with us, the moderator of the session. Ms. Thapar, over to you to conduct the session.
Thank you so much, Sapna, and thanks to the panelists. My apology, I had some problem earlier. So thanks, Amit. You've set the tone and content of the discussion already. But I would just like to start with saying that we have had discussion after discussion really on work from home, its advantages, its pitfall, and how hybrid solutions are likely to emerge as an outcome of this pandemic. We speak a lot of our healthcare professionals, who are justifiably so our heroes and have done such a great job. However, we have spoken very little about our own heroes in the facility and property management arena. They have been at the front line. They are the ones who have made work from home possible because they are at the front line. These are the roles and the teams play, always underplayed, right? We don't talk enough about these heroes. So, I think, Amit, you have done your content setting, but I'd love to go over with each panelist's view on FM at the front line, the role these professions are going to play in the forthcoming future, just as a new new workplaces emerge, and how are they going to be, the important cornerstone as we provide sustainable services to different asset classes. So, Amit, thanks for your views, and maybe we can go on to our next panelist, Pradeep. Pradeep, you're on mute, I think.
Got it. Am I audible
absolutely.
now? Great. Hi, everybody. Nice to have you all together on the panel today. Nice seeing these good faces.
Hi, Pradeep.
Same here. Meeting them on screen after some time. So thanks, Reality Plus, for having me on this panel. And, we've all had our experiences in the last few months of uncertainties and how we overcome all these situations, improved our processes, and been on ground. So I'm going to bring in some experiences from an ESPL, that's Embassy Services perspective, which most of you would know that it's part of the Embassy Group. Today we are at about 70 million square feet in India, different geographies, have our own manpower company, and we work in every genre of the real estate industry. So most importantly, we focused on three aspects very clearly. One was being on ground and building confidence to whoever the occupiers are, that while they are not coming on to offices, we are still on the ground and taking care of all the properties that they occupy. We also did a lot of CSR work with our corporate occupiers. And at the same time, we also kept our teams motivated, our blue-collar workers. In many ways, these three things helped us, bring our industry, FM industry, as a forefront, as a business enabler to all businesses. From the practice and process perspective, I think the initial months were very difficult because of the severe lockdowns, and traveling locally in cities was difficult. So what we did was have most of our housekeepers and technical staff on ground, and made them stay in our properties. And I think most of all FM providers were doing that. We ensured that all safety norms were practiced for them, and their risks were at the minimal. And at the same time, we even provided recreational facilities for them because they were living away from their home and they were risking their lives. At the same time, we kept constant communication with all our occupiers so that they knew what was happening on ground. Security surveillance was at its maximum to ensure that safety and hygiene norms were increased, which all of us have been doing. So this was as far as practices went. But one important aspect we touched on is we connected with all our occupiers, and many of them were wanting to contribute towards CSR activities. And we identified all other frontline warriors who were working towards COVID, against the COVID pandemic. So as far as the police were concerned, in various cities that we work and where we have our buildings, we set up these hydration centers where they could come and rest while they were on their beats. So they would come there, rest, they would get refreshments, and they had their restrooms. So it was provided across India. And we also provided them with some protective eyewear, which was appreciated by them because, some of them are working so hard and they're not really acknowledged for all the hard work that they do. Moreover, then we had these students who were appearing for the SSLC exams in Karnataka. So we partnered with the state school departments, and wherever we had exam centers, we started sanitizing them and increasing hygiene levels and providing masks and sanitizers. So the kids who came were not worried about the risk of catching the pandemic or COVID, but rather they were focusing on their exams. In Mumbai and Maharashtra, we identified all the COVID centers that were set up. We provided more than 10,000 breathable PPE kits for all these doctors and nurses, which was really appreciated over there. One significant request we got from one of our largest clients, open market clients, where they are in all the cities that we work today, and they made us, package about 6,000 odd desktops from their offices, sanitize them, and we reached them to the homes of all their employees so that work from home could go seamlessly for this client of ours, and was well appreciated. Team motivation was important because the blue-collar workers were uncertain when they went back home in the initial stages that will their job sustain, will they get their salaries on time. So because of having our own manpower company, we had the agility to have these people living in the campuses and the buildings. But what we ensured was that we paid them on time. We assured them that none of them were losing their jobs. In fact, most of them who stayed back at sites were given an incentive just as an indication that, look, we care for you and you need to provide services to all our clients. All this put forward a real impact to our clients, and today I can see very clearly the respect they have for the FM industry and the FM professionals who provide them these services, which I think is the topic of the day. For the future, none of us know what's going to really happen because we don't know when this goes away. But what we need to do is adapt ourselves and all these processes as a way of life. And more importantly, we all should be sharing knowledge so that we can all counter this entire pandemic systematically. Let's look at this as an opportunity, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of corporates coming to us, systemic, organized providers of FM services. And I think it's a big opportunity for us guys. That's my
I completely agree, Pradeep. And I think it's remarkable the amount of work that has been done, and keeping our people happy, and taking care of their physical and mental well-being. Let me come to you, Angad. You've had a lot of different experiences, and you were telling us when we were talking earlier on your security services, etc. A different dynamic altogether. Do you want to share your views on this?
Sure. Thanks, Shara. Thank you for having me on this panel today, and thank you to Realty Plus for organizing this. Obviously my experience is a bit different. At least I would presume that we've had a very unique environment to work with. We had 60,000 plus people on our payroll, which varied across blue collared, gray collared, hard services professional who work managing data centers and so on. And we didn't have the benefit and luxury of having an infrastructure available to us inherently. And the other challenge that we had was that our spread of services is across the country. So, just to give you a perspective, in Jammu and Kashmir, we have 5,000 people, which is quite rare to have in a unique environment like that. And metropolitan cities, urban centers were obviously very densely populated. So from our perspective, I think we saw this as a tremendous opportunity for us to do what I would call a reboot. And the way I say that is because I always see facility management industry in this space as all about building routines. You build a routine of an organization running efficiently in a real estate infrastructure, be it people getting a clean workplace environment, people coming in and out, food, transportation services, and then there's obviously a lot of other ancillary services that go around. Now, when COVID hit, we had this rhythm and this routine go haywire. We had organizations that had developed, very advanced business continuity plans. We had developed, many for our customers, but I don't think any of us had planned this 9 months long business continuity plan, and I don't think any of us had envisioned not just a local but a more national and global unfold. So when we look at this situation, we said it's a reboot. We're going to restart, and the biggest challenge that we're going to get is getting this trust, confidence back for these users of these facilities, the end users, to come back. And I think that's the challenge. And we didn't have time to think about processing this information we had to do it all on the go. So as Pradeep ji just rightly mentioned, we had to figure out the who, what, and how. who needs to be in the office and how do we get them, the safety that they need, what needs to run, what systems, networks, functions need to run, and how to keep the business going from work from home. And the how do you do it when you don't have when you had a very truncated transport network and mobility really was just very, very limited. So I think what we realized was that we'll have to develop our facility managers, the custodians who run these blue-collared, white-collared, gray-collared workforce. Get them to realize how do we set up new protocols, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. How do we realign the physical space, with this new socially distant environment that we have to create? And more importantly, how do we get the level of protocol and technology up to date to get people back in the office? Because we wouldn't know it was going to happen in 3 months. Amit would say, we all planned for 3 months, 6 months, and then it kept going. It just never ended from that perspective. But I think what I've noticed now, two very important things, and I'll stop there. One, CXOs of organizations don't take FM for granted anymore. You're part of the decision-making process, which is a tremendous change. I hope Amit and Yogeshwar ji would agree with that. The second thing that I would mention is from the perspective of where are we today? We work across various sectors, including corporates and so on, and we're already seeing 60 to 80% of the workforce coming back to work. I think some sectors which are quite unique, naturally, logistics and e-commerce are 90 to 120%. And that's probably how we're getting our, deliveries at home and keeping our life going. So I think there's a big move back to the office that's already started in different industry in different phases.
Thanks, Angad. I think some great points in over there about rebooting and how to follow the steps to get people back. And I think you rightly also mentioned that, the automotive sector, the logistics sector, maybe high street retail, they're all back, right? At least 60 to 70% of capacity. It's the office parks, etc., that are struggling. But, going back in time, Rajesh, if you were to set the context, what would you say, about FM at Frontline?
So I'll tell you, Charu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Clearly.
Audible.
So I'll tell you, it was around Chinese New Year when the pandemic actually started from China, and CBRE created a regional crisis management team. I wasn't too sure why was I part of that TMT, because I thought in my mind at that point it was a Chinese business. And then suddenly by March, we realized that it actually spread across the entire geography. We were into a challenging environment with lots of ambiguity. And frankly, my biggest concern, a little different perspective, that this pandemic came up with a stigma. So it was not a disease that could not be cured. It was a stigma, and I think social media probably played a role there. And see what 9/11 did to security services, this pandemic has given a different perspective to the FM fraternity. If you look at people from the FM teams, most of our clients across geography, across set classes, they've showed true partnership, worked hand in hand. But our biggest problem personally as a leader, I couldn't really walk the talk with my teams because everything was virtual. While we were working on grounds, we were guiding them from as an example. Which I felt probably was not the best way of handling the situation. But talking about the FM colleagues during the pandemic, the biggest concern at that point when we started March, April, that how would you engage with colleagues wherein they are living in a world where everybody is talking about COVID as stigma. People who are working from home, and you were expecting them to come to work. Not so much in commercial space, but in residential buildings, people actually stayed at the premises. Families are, they're not sure what is happening to their families, but they gave up their personal lives to our clients, and we were communicating with them regularly so that they could stay engaged, because they were on their own at that point in time. And I think I'm just wondering if Zoom was not there at that point, what would have happened? We were actually using this opportunity. And I'm assuming that most of us would have done that. We were doing trainings for them so that, they knew that while they were on sites, we were also around them. So it's very easy now, when we look back. Frankly, my biggest learning is I was on calls and they were on site. Looking back, I think as a leader, when you say that you are leading from behind or leading from front, I think in a hindsight, I feel I could have possibly done better than what
I mean, Rajesh, what you say touches such a deep chord, because there were such stories that have come out from all the sites that we manage, right? They've been exemplary people who have perhaps, wanting to go back because they were going to have a new baby, right? Wanting to go back because there was a marriage in the family, but they didn't, they chose to stay back. And that's why I said, in my introduction, that they are really the unsung heroes. We don't talk enough about them. Because if you compare them to, the armed forces and the medical field, they are trained to handle such situations. Our people are not trained to handle such situations. And what they have done truly for the industry has been their commitment to the industry. I'm very keen to bring in, Dr. Satish Rajendran over here to have his views. And, I'm sure there are more of the similar stories, but over to you, Satish.
Hi, Charu. Thank you very much. Good evening, all of you. I think we have so far heard from Pradeep, Angat, and all of them about the people, how we have done, how we have managed to provide the services. And as Rajesh said that, when he was called, I think even we also had the same kind of feelings. There's something happening in China, not here. But all of a sudden, the way how things have changed here, that's something that itself is a surprise for all of us. So, but having said, Charu, one thing what I want to tell is this pandemic has exposed unsung heroes to FM heroes, as you rightly said. Just a second. Yeah, there is sorry, I lost power here. Just a second. Can you hear me now? So I was saying, this pandemic has exposed our unsung heroes to FM heroes at the moment. But having said that, let me come back to what you said, FM at forefront. Certainly, FM has come to a forefront ever since the outsourcing model has become very familiarized. It's more than 2 or 3 decades, as you all know. But the good thing is today, the industry has accepted and recognized the FM as a business enabler. Since the multitasking accomplishment has been achieved under the expertise under one umbrella at the optimum cost, so that every organization can focus on their core businesses. But having said that, the last 9 to 10 months, FM has really played a crucial role and being very resilient force in protecting the assets and the workplace, making sure a risk-free, and emerged as a significant player in the transition of work from home and even while return of office for corporates. But now if you see most of the segments who are managing their facilities by their own have realized that, it's time that we have engaged a right partner to have a right solution and the right team. So that's what this pandemic has brought an FM into the forefront.
Yeah, thanks, Satish. Very well said about recognition towards FM for being the true business enabler. Thanks, Satish. So, Yogeshwar, coming to you, you represent an industry which has, the retail segment has been massively impacted, right? It would be remiss of us not to have your expert views on this topic.
Thank you very much, Charu, and I'm so privileged to be part of this panel. And as mentioned by Rajesh, that January, February were in the denial mode. That nothing is going to happen, and even if it happens, how far it can go. But then by February, and I must compliment our retail partners. They were very close to guessing it, and they started negotiating the rentals. And not only for a few months, they started talking about years. So that gave us a little shock, and we said that okay, maybe. And then the news started coming that we have to lock down. The cinemas came first and all that. So facility management has already been a differentiator in shopping centers, because at the end of it, these brands are available at most of the places. So what differentiate a good shopping center is definitely a facility management services. And after this pandemic, it has become more clear, very clearer picture that this will be a new benchmark. We have to set new benchmarks, and there is not total clarity on all the precautions one has to take, because everybody is struggling with the clear knowledge. But it is a very clear verdict that facility management will be a differentiator for retail spaces. So in our case, different categories got hit differently. For example, cinemas had their different challenges. Fitness clubs had different challenges, entertainment, and within the shopping center, though the scale of operation is small, but the number of visitors are large in number, like 30,000, varies from 30,000 to 55,000 people a day, from weekday to weekend. So we had to be very, very responsible, and somewhere we had to be responsible for their taking care of their hygiene and these sanitization protocols, which we ourselves were very, very unclear in the beginning. And still struggling, because just to give an example, that the protective coating on the surfaces, and there's so much of confusion. Somebody claims to kill the bacteria in 1 minute of the coating, and somebody says like 3 to 4 hours, and somebody says it takes 3 days to 7 days. So everybody has unique selling proposition, and we have to go by our gut feeling or the genuineness, and the reports also, the lab reports also, they're talking different things to different people. So the short point is that facility management is going to be a differentiator in all the times to come, and more so in retail specific businesses.
So true, Yogeshwar, because if we personalize this, right? I stay in the city of Bombay, right? If I have to go to the nearest mall next to me is Palladium.
Yeah.
And, they have done such a great job. If you go in there, the sanitization and hygiene protocols are so good, you feel safe to go in. And on that point, Amit, I'm going to come back to you, right? So when the pandemic had hit, all of us thought that by December, we'd at least have 30 to 50% people back in our office parks. But that hasn't happened. I think most of our office parks are still struggling with anywhere between 5 to maybe 15% the people coming back. And the office parks have actually done a lot in terms of providing that confidence, right? From changing filters to having excellent protocols for safety and hygiene, etc. What is going to tip that balance, Amit? What is going to get those people back to work?
Yeah, I think thanks. So I think by being regularly in contact with the user base, we've been able to slightly get deeper into what are the thoughts and detailing. I'll give you an example. You're right. For some of our complexes, still the average occupancy is still under 10%. But you have some of the companies where the occupancy is far higher than the weighted average. I'll give you an example. In our Gurgaon portfolio, one company, which is Samsung, have average occupancy in their office at 70%. Now, if you get deeper into the culture of that one organization, during the lockdown and post-lockdown, during the restrictions and others, the company has to deliver the sale quarter and quarter, which means on one side of the organization, they're telling them to be on the forefront, be in the retail stores, or kind of be with the dealers and push sales and all that, and they can't sell the other side of the company to kind of sit at home. or work from home, right? So we've kind of seen a kind of a difference in various industries and how they are reacting to this. Now, we as a developer, we started coming to office from May onwards, because as a DNA of the organization, when we manage construction sites, we know there are risks. When we manage operations, we know there are risks. So what you've been trained mentally is to manage risk, right? And still make the operations run safely. So as an organization, that's how we started responding, that, okay, we did a lot of initiatives before we started coming to office. How do you de-risk yourself? How the touchless experience was created in the building? How we segregated our operating hours of the service staff? How we ensure that once in 15 days, the service staff is tested. And likewise, the whole use of Arogya Setu and the temperature screen and everything. So it's a take higher level of precautions, but let the work happen the way it is. In fact, interestingly, earlier during the day, I was talking to someone. There is one institute in Chicago. I was talking to one of the friends whose children are studying there, and they said that at the campus, the average testing cycle is once every week. So they kept the campus operational, and the testing cycle is once every week. And then the access to the campus is configured through the app, that only if you've tested negative, you're coming in. But you let the operations carry on at site, but you increase the guard level. So I think that's what the real learning which is coming from some of the industries. IT industry took a different view, and they had their own reasons. In most companies, where larger companies, they have, let's say, India headcount ranging from 50,000 to 100,000. They were slightly concerned that when there will be a second wave, once they give instructions to start reopening the offices, and if there is a second wave, that's too larger a scale of employees. So I think IT companies, including NASSCOM, took a view that let the second wave also pass through, and then we will come back in one go. But at the same time, they've been through the pain. We've had various customers telling us that when they used to distribute laptops, it's not that when you're working from home, their home of the employees is not in the same city. They're actually tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And then we had issues around, let's say you have a kind of a fault in the laptops, and otherwise you have to send your IT guys to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So been through their side of the pain. And having delivered the IT equipments and some bit of furniture at their offices, they were okay with giving it some time rather than giving kind of a comeback at a hurry. So we do believe, thankfully, now with the vaccine, some bit of announcements and some positive results coming in the next quarter or so. We do believe, I think, the comfort level of the organizations as a whole and the employee level as a whole of general sense of safety it will increase. And I think we do believe that February, March onwards, the occupancy will start increasing. Having said that, I think a lot which is done by the FM fraternity, some bit of this is being technical. Some of the business heads have not been able to understand in terms of the detailing around, let's say, in specific confined spaces, right? The biggest threat which is seen of coming to office is that you are in a confined spaces in a space in a centrally air condition. If one person is infected, he may end up infecting 10 others. So, I think that is where the FM fraternity needs to work more in terms of communicating to the non-technical CXOs, non-technical HR heads, so that they understand what is it that we are doing at the indoor quality management. If you're installing MERV 14 filters, so what is it that MERV 14 is doing it? If you're installing a couple of other filters or making the air change mechanism done, etc., what is it, how it's making an impact, how the air change manages the whole kind of indoor air quality safety. I think a lot of communication is required, and that's what I believe would be the next journey of increasing the footfall to offices.
Yeah, I think very well said, Amit. And managing and being conscious of the risk is very important, right? Yesterday, I was on a panel with the Chief Medical Officer of Reliance, and the rigor that they have, because they can't stop the refineries and stuff like that. Not a single day they have shut down. They have daily tests for some of their key staffs. And I was just staggered to hear the amount of work that they have done to ensure that, that ship keeps sailing. And I do have a question for Rajesh later in the discussion on the MERV 13 and 14 filters to simplify it a little bit. But coming to you, Angad, health and wellness has become such a center stage for our workplace and building. You have 65,000 people, as you said. This will require our FM teams, and I'm including every one of the 65,000 people in the FM team, to upskill and to respond to the new environment, right? Is the industry really geared to respond at the speed at which it requires to give that comfort to get people back?
Thanks, Charu. Before Charu, I jump on, answering that question, I wanted to share, Amit shared a very interesting, the concept about testing, and you mentioned about Reliance. I don't know if many of us are familiar. There's a Texas tycoon called Graham Weston, who set up a cloud computing business called Rackspace, which many of us probably won't know. This is the gentleman who's doing mass testing in San Antonio, and thereby has reduced the the spread rate by almost 98%. So I keep reading because I spent over a decade in America, so I keep my ties close enough to know what's happening in different parts of the world. But I think what it told me was, this is the out of box thinking and disruption. This wasn't an option that we could take time in a 5-year strategy to think through. And this wasn't the government, by the way. I mean, I'm not saying mass testing is the idea for India, but it tells you that with public-private partnership, this is something that could be achieved by Reliance. It could be achieved by Vedanta. That's one of the customers that we work with, and many others. So coming back to, to answer your question, the answer is, can we get health and wellness to be equipped ready for FM industry? Yes, I think we've already demonstrated that to a significant extent. When I mentioned that 60 to 80% of workforce is already back at work. Now the idea is that are we ready for the commercial urban centers of India, which I think a lot of us see and represent in a large way? Are they ready to see the equipness of the FM industry? I think there's probably a bit of a lag in terms of the understanding. So Rajesh sir will probably agree that the traditional approach to FM is, it's siloed and it's reactive. You build something and you deal with the problems later. That's the approach that we've dealt with. But we've been becoming more proactive over the period. We're becoming more agile. We're looking at integrated approaches. I think Amit created a great example about what DLF's doing in that sense. And this is happening because organizations already understood many years ago, before COVID hit, that the employee experience has a direct correlation to the productivity and performance of that business. I think health and wellness is part of that journey that we're making. So, having said that, the last 9 and 10 months, we've been tested and we've demonstrated through many iterations of lockdown and night curfews. People have worked collaboratively, creatively. We have upskilled. We've upskilled and trained ourselves. In some cases, in the absence of protocols, as Yogeshwarji rightly mentioned, that there isn't a clear protocol. Use this particular cleaning agent and you'll get a better outcome. We've done that in spite of all of that. We've defined protocols. We've standardized disinfection procedures. We've gone from this high contact FM service model to a light touch, touchless service model. So I think it's already happened, and I think as time passes by, and I'm going to give my last example because I'm a big believer in that journey. Yogeshwarji, I think Amit, you both have large retail assets, and I don't know if we all know, but that's one of the largest sources of employers after non-farm payroll. So from that perspective, when PVR opened up its shop, and this has only happened recently, in many states, Maharashtra is still struggling, Thar, that, they were able to do that because they were able to demonstrate the capability of having a safe environment which provided the health and wellness. And I can't imagine a cinema hall being any different, or, it's probably more confined in that space, that box. And they've been able to demonstrate that. So I think FM's already, the proof in the pudding's partly already there for all of us to go watch a movie as soon as they release one. And I'm told Tenet is about to release in the next couple of weeks. So just a heads up. But that's the proof is already in the pudding there in some ways.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think all of us are waiting for new content to come in cinemas, and you very rightly said. But I'm going to jump on to Rajesh, you with regard to, and because Amit touched upon the MERV filters. So many buildings have invested in upgrading their HVAC filters to MERV 13, 14, which is just one step below an operation theater, right? So really high quality, etc. But pollution levels in North India are what they are. They have exacerbated the situation, and that's probably leading to people, not returning to work. How would you, really dumb down this message and simplify it really to say, to the non-technical people to say, look, this is really credible investment, and probably coming to work is safer than staying in your own place.
Sure, Charu, slightly difficult question, but I will try to answer in my own way. So, like I think Amit mentioned that word communication. In my view, I mean, while communication has always been the center theme, but it's more important now on how do we communicate what is being done and what it means for near future. Now, we're all waiting about vaccination to come. I'm honestly not too sure whether the vaccination is for the flu or the vaccination is for the fear. Because what's happening is we have, for whatever, I don't know whether social media is to be blamed for it. We've created a stigma. The moment you heard COVID positive, it meant everything had to stop. So what has happened is in the process, and also as mentioned in the beginning about IT, ITS companies not coming back, the fact is, if the leaders don't come back to offices, people working under them are obviously not going to come, because it's an emotive subject. So if you remember the financial crisis, it was about finance, people came back. This time, in my view, it's a health crisis. And when it comes to health, it's my health, it's your health. Now, how do you tell someone that I have done everything? Now, we all speak about filters, HVAC filters, but the fact that this transmission of virus is happening here may be likely, but frankly, is not proven. Now, we have, I mean, I heard someone else also mentioning, I think Yogeshwar was talking about, there are multiple products coming like antimicrobial coatings, saying, okay, we'll neutralize the virus. But the efficiency of these products, frankly, is not verified. Now, we have done everything to sanitize the offices. We have used whatever is available. I think, in my view, communicating to users in terms of what has been done, leaders to come back to offices to demonstrate if it is safe for them, it is safe for everyone else. And once it starts, my guess is that it's a question of months that we start seeing people back in office. Like I was mentioning to you, Charu, yesterday, there are only two places where people have not come back. One is offices, and other is schools. You go to hotels, you go to restaurants, everybody is outside. Parties are happening, everybody is doing everything else, but going to offices. So in my view, it's a question of how well the management team coordinate with the technical, non-technical stakeholders and make them understand all that has been done to make offices probably as safe as their homes. I'll be honest, on the lighter side, I was just joking to someone in the morning when I was in office that I'm more safe in office than my home, because I have more at home in the square footage I live in versus my office. have less people and have a large floor plate. So why wouldn't I be in office? So I think it's about communication in my.
And Angad said that also, earlier when we were chatting, he has 2 young kids and he feels much productive in office too, right? If I'm speaking on your behalf. Angad, Rajesh, you forgot to mention that people are holidaying in exotic locations too. So, you talk about the Goas and
the reason I didn't mention that, because I didn't go for that holiday and you went.
No, I didn't. No, I did. But it is, and Pradeep, I'm going to come to you because we must get the flex space into this, and you are you manage the WeWorks, portfolio. So, we're hearing a lot about satellite offices, flex space being the name of the game. The FM industry is going to be, really gearing up to that. What are you seeing in the flex space? Is that a better response?
So at this point of time, even those spaces are not as highly occupied as comparable to our campuses. More or less, the percentage is quite similar. But yes, moving down the line as time progresses and we go back to a normalcy, I think from a perspective of flexible spaces, we are very positive about that. And we're very confident that that segment is going to definitely grow. And we're very hopeful over there. In terms of whatever practices are being done, communication, I subscribe with Rajesh, is the most important thing, because to bring in confidence to the occupiers is only by way of communicating to them that as an FM industry, whatever practices we are doing are sustainable, they are going to last for a longer period of time, and we are never going to give up. So most importantly, communication, and keep doing the same routine stuff over and over again, build the confidence. But coming back to office, I think is a decision which most MNCs are taking globally. So while we are in India and our situation may be different from what's happening in the US or in Europe, the decisions are being driven at a global level. So I'm not sure how soon people would start coming back to office. Like I had mentioned to you a few days back, that the strata offices are definitely practically to 80-90% or more. They are largely occupied. We as FM providers are moving into our offices more regularly just to build in that confidence. And like let's take a case of Manyata, which we handle in Bangalore, one of the REIT parks that we are managing. You'll be surprised, on a regular basis, we have more than 120,000 people coming in, more than 40,000 cars. It's absolutely a city. And we start manning the traffic more than 3 kilometers even before a car reaches Manyata Tech Park. Literally to that extent. And today we just have about not even 5,000 people coming to that campus. So it's a decision which corporates will have to take, and as providers of services and safety and hygiene norms, I think we guys are all prepared to offer them the best what is available in the market.
Yeah.
So it's a decision what the MNCs and the
Charu, we have.
So I say Sapna. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Charu, we have an audience question. Probably you can decide who would be the right person to take that. One of the audience asked about the contracts between the client and the FM vendors, how they are being reworked given the COVID situation and the added responsibilities and the business impact on FM companies as well.
So actually, I had a similar question for Dr. Satish. Satish, you want to go take that?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a very apt question, I'm sure, for all of us. As you know, I think while we all have been facing multiple challenges, but there are also opportunities, right? So the opportunities are in two forms. For people like us, it's an opportunity. And from the occupier's point of view, for them it's an opportunity to bring down their cost. So what's happening is everybody have started, it's happening with me. Most of our clients have approached us to rerun the overall RFPs just to ensure that the cost to bring down the cost without compromising on quality. But at the same time, they've been wanting to know how can we manage their business plan for next 3 years. So it's very clear. Absolutely, as you know, we have got the notification from PM's office that work from home is becoming next 1 year. It's you don't need to comply. Similarly, the solution what we have proposed is we revisited the overall contractual terms our overall the deployment also we have worked in a manner 10%, 20% and 30% based on the occupancies. In that way, we are giving that comfort to our clients. Number one, the assurance, because their worries is that, once the contract is fixed, where our service provider will claim the entire money. So we understand what the situation we all are going through. And that is when it's very important for all of us to have a partnership approach rather, directly, going and cutting the headcounts and not paying. It's better proactively coming together, sitting over a table. Let's understand and how can we rearrange the overall contractual terms and which can benefit both the organizations. And I must witness, I've witnessed it. Most of the occupiers have really played very maturely on this. And I'm sure from the service partner side also, it has been a very collaborative approach in managing this contracts and re-RFPs for all their premises. That's my experience, Charu.
Thanks a lot. Sapna, do I have time to ask Yogeshwar one?
Let's summarize, Charu, what we discussed for our viewers and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, can I just ask one question to Yogeshwar, if you allow me, please? Yeah. So, Yogeshwar, just your view on what's going to happen, you think, to the retail industry, given everyone's become so used to shopping on the internet now. And what is your quick view on that? And then we will come to summarize. Yeah.
So, I mean, this pandemic was a big disruptor. I mean, everything became standstill, no visitor, no retailer. And then what happened by 8th of June, we started opening slowly. And now almost everything is operational except the entertainment center. And there was a very steady recovery. We were very glad to see that recovery. Like just to give you a number, like 55% footfalls were back. And then which was translating into like 65% to 70% of sales. So I mean, more conversions, like serious shopper were coming, and the dwell time went down. People were spending at least 2.5 hours earlier. Now it is like 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes maximum, because they're coming for a purpose and then they go out. It was going in a very, very good direction, but suddenly, like last 1 month, the number of cases in Delhi has gone up, and especially it is a big media coverage, and it's a serious concern. So there is some stagnation and footfall. Shopping is still also like stagnating, but Delhi is blessed. Other than the air quality, the winter is setting in, and the winter is really, really nice. And we are also today it's Black Friday sales, and the mall is full of visitors. I mean, and fully dressed and willing to take advantage of the sales. So my gut says that by January, February, March will be a little challenging, because festive season will go very well. But Jan, Feb, March will be a real test. And we will reach up to 80% of numbers by April, May, June. But crossing the numbers of 2019 will only happen by Diwali next year. This is a very, very database where we are standing today. And I'm very positive that vaccine will come, or either we'll get used to it. Everybody known is down with it or has recovered from it. But to be very serious, 1% cases are out of control. Those cases, and nobody is able to figure out why they are out of control. So we are most worried about those 1% people, especially the elderly. Yeah. So by 80% recovery will happen in the first quarter, January, February, March, for sure.
Thanks, Yogeshwar. And Sapna, I'll try and quickly sum it up. I know you're out of time and we're hitting the weekend, so people, just want to go and do their own thing now. So for me, the key takeaways have been safety, right? We have to take responsibility of our own safety, because the FM industry has done a lot to provide a safe working environment, whichever asset class it is, right? To take an example, recently Hong Kong has had their whatever number of wave that they've had because of the dancing girls, if you Google and search, right? So the high society ladies go to, these dancing classes and they didn't wear a mask, and that has led to super spreaders, right? And I hope, Yogeshwar, people in your mall are wearing the mask. So I think the mask, so to say, is really an armor all of us need to live with for the foreseeable future, regardless of the vaccine being there or its efficacy. I think the leaders need to lead from the front, come back to work, which will only cascade down to get more and more people back into the offices. And I just think we need to be absolutely mindful and responsible of the hygiene practices that our companies are putting forth, the buildings that we attend are putting forth for all of us, and we must use those facilities. With that, Sapna, it's really a wrap. If anyone else wants to chime in to their...
I think, Charu, it was a very, very, enlightening discussion. I think we got to know the viewpoints of what commercial real estate space providers are looking at, and also the FM companies, how they are actually, working hand in hand with the clients now. And so I think we had the viewpoints from all across really 360-degree panel that we had. Thanks, Charu, for your wonderful moderation and getting the best from our speakers today. And thanks to all our speakers for being here with us and sharing their valuable views. Thank you all for sharing your time.
Thank you, Sapna.